panahong nagbabago ang balanse ng kapangyarihan sa mundo, ang pinakamahalagang paninindigan ng Pilipinas ay ang manatiling matatag, handa at makiling sa sariling interes at pambansang kagalingan.
Avail of the privilege hour. I move that we recognize our distinguished colleague, Senator Rodante Marcoleta, to deliver his speech.
Senator Dante Marcoleta is recognized.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise today on a matter of national significance, one that directly affects our sovereignty, our security, our economic direction, and our way of life. In November 2025, the United States of America issued a new national security strategy. This document is not merely a statement of American priorities. It is a declaration of how the world's most powerful country now understands power, alliances, and competition. For countries like the Philippines, which are strategically located, economically developing, and geopolitically exposed, this strategy has direct and profound consequences. The 2025 U.S. National Security Strategy marks a decisive shift away from post-Cold War globalism toward a narrower interest-based approach. It explicitly rejects open-ended ideological missions and instead focuses on strategic discipline, aligning objectives with available means and avoiding overextension. It is defining its interests more strictly and asking harder questions to its allies. What do you bring to the table? President Trump himself summarized it succinctly, Mr. President. To focus on everything is to focus on nothing. At its core, the strategy asserts more on the survival and security of the United States of America as a sovereign republic, it being the paramount objective. Everything else, alliances, trade, diplomacy, military presence, is subordinate to that goal. The strategy is anchored on several principles. 1. America first, defined not as isolationism but as a prioritizing U.S. workers, industry, and sovereignty. 2. Peace through strength, requiring the strongest economy, advanced technology, and most capable military in the world. 3. Economic nationalism, including reshoring industry and securing critical supply chains. 4. Fairness and burden sharing, rejecting free riding by allies and encouraging greater investment in one's own defense. And 5. Primary of national sovereignty, putting national interests over transnational governance. Mr. President, this is a leading global force that no longer apologizes for power and no longer subsidizes partners who do not invest in their own defense or economic future. The strategy makes unmistakably clear that the United States seeks to reassert comprehensive primacy in its own neighborhood. It declares that the Western Hemisphere must be secured politically, economically, commercially, and militarily under U.S. leadership, an approach described as the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. Nowhere in this shift more consequential than in the Indo-Pacific region. The strategy identifies the Indo-Pacific as the central arena of long-term strategic contention, particularly with China. U.S. objectives include preventing the dominance of critical maritime choke points, maintaining freedom of navigation and overflight, securing supply chains and deterring conflict, especially in Taiwan and the troubled South China Sea. Central to this effort is what strategists call the first island chain, a defensive arc stretching from Japan, through Taiwan, the Philippines, and down through Indonesia. The strategy explicitly clarifies that the U.S. diplomacy should press allies and partners along this chain to grant greater access to ports and facilities, spend more on their own defense, and invest in credible deterrent capabilities. Mr. President, let us be clear. The Philippines is no longer peripheral. Our geography alone places us at the heart of this strategic struggle. This reality presents both opportunity and risk. First, heightened strategic importance is tied with conditions. As a treaty ally along vital sea lanes and adjacent to the South China Sea, the Philippines is now of increased strategic value to the United States. Our territory, ports, airfields, and maritime domain are viewed as critical assets. But the strategy is loud and clear, Mr. President. Support is conditional. Allies are expected to contribute and not just to play host. Defense cooperation will increasingly depend on our willingness to invest in our own capabilities, improve interoperability, and demonstrate strategic seriousness. The strategic shift compels us to ask a difficult but necessary question. Where does equity come in? For decades, the Philippines has acted in good faith as a treaty ally. We have costed the 2014 Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA, which strengthened the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty between the Republic of the Philippines and the United States of America. In 2023, we expanded from 5 existing EDCA locations to 4 more locations, opening our territory, airspace, and communities to magnify U.S. presence. For many years, this arrangement was justified by the understanding that the Mutual Defense Treaty served as a reliable security umbrella, assuring us that deterrence and protection were shared responsibilities. Yet today, even as we have provided access and geography, the new doctrine signals that these resources are no longer sufficient. We are now told point blank that unless we invest more, spend more, and field greater capabilities, support is conditional. This raises a profound implication, Mr. President. The long-standing assumption that alliance alone guarantees security is no longer valid. As a nation that placed deep trust in the immutability of the U.S. policy, we must now reckon with the reality that strategic realities can change abruptly, even for long-time allies. The lesson is sobering but clarifying. Our security cannot solely rely on inherited commitments or empty assurances. It must be grounded on our own capacity, our own investments, and our own resolve to defend the Republic, regardless of shifts in the policies or even our closest friends. Second, there will be a shift from purely aid to capability-based partnerships. The era of dependency now appears to be a thing of the past. The United States now prefers partnerships based on capability, contribution, and alignment. Countries that fail to modernize their armed forces or protect their own maritime interests risk marginalization, even if they are treaty allies. This should concern us, Mr. President. In this evolving strategic equation, the Mutual Defense Treaty now rests on a fundamentally new equilibrium. While the treaty remains in force and continues to symbolize a shared commitment to peace and stability, its practical meaning has shifted from automatic assurance to conditional partnership. Defense commitments are no longer viewed as standing guarantees rooted in history, but as arrangement contingent on demonstrated capability, burden sharing, and strategic alignment. We have debated AFP modernization for years, Mr. President, yet projects are delayed, budgets questioned, and priorities shifted. Meanwhile, our fishermen continue to face harassment and our patrols remain limited. Sovereignty cannot rest on press releases alone. It requires ships, aircraft, trained personnel, sustained political will, and defending our maritime rights with credibility and certainty, not mere rhetoric. Legitimate sovereignty requires the ability to protect it. Third, we must realize that economic security is national security. The strategy treats economic power as inseparable from national security. The U.S. is actively diversifying supply chains away from China, creating opportunities for manufacturing, semiconductors, electronics, and digital services. This is a historic opportunity for the Philippines, but competition will be fierce. Southeast Asian states are racing to attract same investments. Those with unreliable power, weak infrastructure, regulatory instability, or policy inconsistency will be bypassed. We all know the hard and inconvenient truths. High electricity prices, corruption, bad governance, and uncertainty in rules would continue to hold us back, Mr. President. Strategic relevance today depends on economic relevance. If we wish to be trusted supply chain partner, we must ensure reliable and affordable energy, modernize ports, logistics, and transport networks, create stable, predictable investment rules, and align education and workforce development with high-value industries. Sa huli, ito ang pinakamahalagang aral para sa atin. Walang bansang tunay na iginagalang kung wala tayong kakayahang ipagtanggol ang sarili, lalo na yung soberenya at itaguyod ang sariling kaunlaran. Ang pakikipag-alyansa ay hindi kapalit ng pambansang lakas. Ito ay nagiging makabuluhan lamang kung ang bansa ay may malinaw na direksyon, matatag na ekonomiya at kakayahang ipagtanggol ang kanyang teritoryo. Ang hamon sa atin na hindi pumili ng panig ng tunggalian ng mga bansang makapangyarihan, kundi tiyaking handa ang Pilipinas sa lahat ng pagkakataon. Gawin nating halimbawa ang Singapore. Taong 1965 nang sila ay tanggalin sa Federasyon ng Malaya. Umagulgol si Lee Kuan Yew sa harap ng publiko at pinangakuan ng kanilang mamamayan na tatayo sila sa sarili nilang mga paa at magtatagumpay. At tingnan natin ngayon, Mr. President, napalago nga nila ng mabilis ang kanilang bansa. Naging sentro ng kalakalan at teknolohiya, napaunlad ang edukasyon, pabahay at serbisyong pangkalusugan at napabilang sa mga bansang itinuturing na first world. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the 2025 U.S. National Security Strategy signals a world where power, production, and sovereignty matter again. For the Philippines, this is neither a call for submission nor confrontation. It is a call for strategic clarity. We must understand that alliances are strongest when they rest on mutual capability, not dependency. Economic development without security is fragile. Security without economic strength is unsustainable. If we prepare, invest, and act decisively, we can protect our sovereignty, strengthen our economy, and secure prosperity for future generations. If we remain passive, underprepared, and reactive, we risk being sidelined in a world that no longer waits for those who hesitate. The lesson before us is clear, Mr. President. National development, defense, readiness, and strategic purpose must move together. Sa panahong nagbabago ang balanse ng kapangyarihan sa mundo, ang pinakamahalagang paninindigan ng Pilipinas ay ang manatiling matatag, handa at makiling sa sariling interes at pambansang kagalingan. Maraming salamat, Mr. President.
Please subscribe